they start to get breakdown on the end of their stump. So you don't want to pull it up, you want to pull it down, and the slip sock will do that for you. So some of them will use this. And the ones that have it, you know, if you can use them right, they're very functional and they're very nice. Once in a while, if the valve isn't working, every step they make, there's a noise. You can just hear them, you know, coming into the therapy clinic. You know who's coming because you can hear them when they round the corner. Well, you better get them into the shop then, and they'll fix that valve because it's not very good sound sometimes. they laugh about it. But. Okay, knee, endo, exoskeletal, single axle, constant friction. Single axle, constant friction with a friction lock. Safety knee. We use a lot of the single axle, constant friction with the friction lock. On the older patients, when you get them up and you're ambulating them, maybe all they're going to be able to utilize is a walker, and they do not have the strength and the function to control the knee. So you get them up, you lock the knee in extension. So then they're walking, you know, with the knee locked. And it's utilized a lot in the older population. We've had several of those go out. And you know, then it's almost like walking on your temporary. And so you work with your gait with that. You know, you know that they're going to probably circumduct a little bit, but you just work on getting as normal gait pattern as you can. Get left in front of the right, you look for your space between the heels, and whatever, you know, after you've worked with it a while, you kind of have to settle for that. They're functional, they can get up, they can get onto their walker, they can walk to the bathroom, they can come back. We had a veteran out for 7 years on one of these had a constant lock. He was able to put it on, able to take it off. He lived alone. It had a locked knee. He cooked for himself. He did everything. And finally now he's back in the hospital and he's needing dialysis and some other things. But he was able to fend for himself for 7 years independently using a limited, you know, function prosthesis like that. And it worked real well for him. In fact, I tried to talk that limb off of him today before I came down. Or yesterday I said to him, you know, I said, hey, I'm going down to teach this class. How about, you know, can I take your limb along? Because we don't have a lot of permanent prosthesis in the clinic right now. He says, yeah, he says, that'll work out. But he said, I want to get down and walk. You know, I want to get my walk in before you take it. So I said, that'll be fine. But then I ended up, I had to go to a meeting and I left from that. I didn't get back down to the clinic. So he'll be able to walk this afternoon. But I thought to myself, you know, we talk about talking the leg off someone. I actually tried to do that on this guy, but he was a little resistant. You know, he likes walking and he wanted to know, you know, what the purpose was. Then the safety knee, the Autobach, weight activated, stance phase control, polycentric, so you've got more than single axis, more than front back, but more motions in the knee, see-through joint. Then you get to the hydraulics, joints, advantages, cadence responsive, controls heel rise, controls terminal impact, stability, low energy. The disadvantages, expensive, maintenance, and weight. I have seen the hydraulic units, or the knees. They have put them on different patients. They do seem to have more difficulty with them. They are cadence responsive though. In other words, if you have someone that wants to walk fast or wants to jog, it will automatically adjust to that. Where your other one, your constant friction one, is going to have the same. You're going to have to walk at a slower rate. And that's one thing I forgot to bring out on the energy expenditure. How do they compensate for not using up all that energy? Simply by walking slower. So they just slow the rate down. And then they can, at the energy level that they're at. So they just go slower. But if you have someone that wants to jog and wants to move, changes their gait, cadence fast, then the hydraulic knee is a consideration. And the types of that are the Mach SNS, swing and stance control. And that's the one that I'm most familiar with. Easy to adjust. Just have the little knob, you can, you know, make it easier or harder, whichever way you want to go with it. And the shank on those, usually exoskeletal, endoskeletal, usually I put now endoskeletal with the foam cover. Foot, see below knee and through knee. Hip disarticulation. I haven't seen very many of those, but we did have one. A gentleman was a truck driver. He hauled cattle. He was kicked by a cow. He came in. He had gangrene, fast spreading. They had to take him to surgery. They took it through the hip, and he healed. We got him in a hip disc artic, the joint comes out front, but he was eventually able to get up. He walked with a cane, went back to did some truck driving, and really actually got along quite well. And the hemipalvectomy, amputation through the SI joint. Only saw one. Most of the hip disc artic and the hemipalvectomy, they use the Canadian type. And for the hemipalvectomy, it's a bucket. It's kind of gluteal weight bearing then. And we did have one of those when I was out in working at Letterman in San Francisco. This was a cancer patient that they did surgery on. And he was a young fellow, and they wanted to keep him mobile for as long as possible. So he came down. He was in kind of this bucket. We put kind of a stockinette over him, and then he would slide into this. We would help buckle him in, and he got so that he could ambulate with that, with crutches, with assistance and one. Okay, I think we'll close out. Any questions? Move through that fairly fast. Let's talk about the above-knee prosthetic checkout. Really, the simplest things get you into the most trouble for not being able to go ahead with your treatment. And what I mean by that is a lot of times they will drop it off and there's no shoes on it. And they're aligned at a certain shoe height. It makes a difference the type of foot they have on there. It makes a difference with alignment. So